Why do AI decisions so often feel, well, kind of random? A post gets taken down, a chatbot gives you a completely bizarre answer, and you're just left wondering, what was the logic there? The biggest problem in AI alignment is really just teaching these machines how to handle our messy, subjective human values. But today, we're going to look at a pretty amazing solution that doesn't look to more complicated code, but actually to centuries of human legal tradition for the answer. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll nail down this subjectivity problem that trips up so many AI systems. Then, we'll look at the old way of doing things, using strict rules versus this new idea based on precedents. We'll break down exactly how this whole case law thing works, step by step. After that, we'll check out the, honestly, staggering results from the study. And finally, we'll talk about what this all means for building safer, more trustworthy AI. All right, let's jump right into the big challenge. How do you actually program an AI to make judgments that don't just feel technically right, but feel consistent and, fair to us? We have all seen this, right? One comment gets to stay up, but another one that looks almost identical gets zapped, and you're left just scratching your head. It's that inconsistency that really stops us from trusting AI with important stuff like content moderation. Okay, so the heart of the problem is a classic alignment issue. Human values and community norms, ideas like be respectful or don't be disruptive, are by their very nature fuzzy. It's one thing to write them down as a high-level principle. It's a completely different and maybe impossible task to turn them into a perfect, airtight set of rules that covers every single weird scenario that could pop up. So this challenge kind of presents a fork in the road for AI developers. Do you just keep trying to write better and better rules? Or do you need a totally different way of thinking? This paper explores a really fascinating alternative, one that's inspired directly by the history of law. The way we usually do it is what the paper calls constitutional grounding. Basically, you give the AI a set of high-level rules, kind of like a constitution, and tell it to go apply them. The alternative is case law grounding. And here, the AI doesn't start with rules at all. It starts with a huge library of past decisions, and it learns from those real, concrete examples. And this diagram here shows the two philosophies perfectly. The top flow, that's your constitutional grounding, is very straightforward. A new case comes in, it gets checked against a fixed list of rules, and a judgment comes out. It's a very rigid, top-down process. But that bottom flow is where things get interesting. With case law grounding, a new case triggers a search for similar cases from the past. The system then picks out the most relevant ones to act as precedents, and their outcomes are what directly shape the final judgment. It's a much more dynamic, bottom-up way of doing things. So how does this case law grounding, or CLG, actually work under the hood? It turns out to be a surprisingly simple and elegant three-step process. And what's cool is that this whole pipeline can be run by either a human moderator or a large language model, an LLM. The core logic is exactly the same. First, find similar past cases. Second, decide which of those are actual binding precedents. And third, combine their outcomes to make a final decision. Let's break down each step. First up is case retrieval. The system does a semantic search to pull up past cases that are similar in meaning to the new one. But just being similar isn't enough, which brings us to the really crucial second step, precedent selection. Here, a person or an LLM filters through those cases to figure out which ones are truly applicable. And finally, in step 3, decision synthesis, the system just aggregates the outcomes from those binding precedents. Often it's as simple as a majority vote to make its final judgment. So it's a really neat theory, but does it actually hold up in the real world? Well, the researchers ran a bunch of experiments, and the difference in performance wasn't just small, it was huge. Let's look at the numbers. This is the number that just pops right off the page. When an LLM had to do moderation, switching it from a rule-based system to this case law grounding approach boosted its accuracy, its ability to agree with human judgments, by nearly 33 percentage points. Let me tell you, in the world of AI alignment, that is an absolutely massive jump. And here's what that looks like in a real-world test. Moderating comments on the r/games subreddit. When the LLM used the traditional rule-based approach, it was only making the right call about 57% of the time. But when it switched over to the case law method, its accuracy shot up to an incredible 90%. And the researchers figured out the secret sauce here. It wasn't just about showing the AI a few examples for context. The key was that the precedents had to be binding, meaning the model was forced to base its final decision directly on them. It's that constraint that really locked in those huge accuracy gains. So what's the big picture here? This isn't just some interesting academic paper. It really gives us a powerful and practical new way to build AI systems that are way more consistent and better aligned with what we actually want. The takeaways are super clear. This approach doesn't just make AI more consistent, it actually helps human moderators too. By grounding every decision in a community's own history, it makes sure that AI is aligned with that community's specific norms, not some generic rulebook. And ultimately, this gives us a powerful new tool for AI safety, moving us away from these vague, abstract principles and toward reasoning that's based on real, concrete examples. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty deep thought to chew on. For centuries, legal systems have used case law to deal with ambiguity and evolve with society. So as we build these incredibly powerful AIs, maybe, just maybe, we should be looking to this long, long history of human judgment to find the principles we need to govern our future.
This is for entertainment purposes only.